Hello there everybody, and welcome back to Magna Carta 2. In the last video, I was in the undersea tunnel searching for the shells that we needed for the quest. And as you can see, we have a red checkmark on the map here. So I went and did some grinding. I collected the shells, and so we need to turn this into Kiloty. Although that was a bit of a pain, we do get some pretty good stuff out of it. We get a common recipe, some ingredients, and 5,000 experience, so well worth it. And with that being done, we've pretty much done everything that we need to do in Cota Mare right now. The only thing that is left is to speak to Hogton once we're ready. But there is actually a whole other line of side quests that I had completely forgotten about. Because I'm a dumbass, I kinda got a little bit ahead of myself, and I ended up doing all of my grinding off screen in order to buy all of the missing weapons that I needed, as you guys can see here, and that totaled to be a lot of money. I had to spend quite a bit of time, but I was able to do it. However, had I realized earlier that I was missing those side quests, I would have been able to work on grinding up the money while we were working on that, but the positive thing in all of that, I suppose, is that I was able to gain about 3 levels with each character, which is going to put me nice and ahead for this upcoming part, as well as other parts in the game. I was able to buy those weapons, so it's kind of out of the way, and I'll be able to start saving my money for whatever else comes my way. So the next set of side quests involves an Avis by the name of Hogton. You'll get a message in your cube mail about the warriors who defeated Jopa, those being us. And this guy's sort of a little monster hunter, and he's got some interesting sort of requests for us. So he is at Oldfox Canyon, which is where we are going to go next. And he is going to be standing right next to the pillar that we're going to be brought to once we warp here using the Avis Transport Fleet. Alright, so here we are back in Oldfox Canyon. It has been quite some time since we were here, but it's still as red and as desolate as ever. So here's Hogton. You've come. I've been waiting on pins and needles. Who are you? Ah, has my letter completely slipped your mind, or did you simply never read it? Well, no matter. It was nothing important. Ah, the reason I called you here, I have a money-making scheme, but I'm not up to the job by myself. I heard from Hogton that he had powerful friends that killed Jopa. That is, you helped him. The surest way to make money is through monster slaying, powerful monsters, naturally. There's a gigantic monster called an Inferno. If you can kill it, I'm sure we can make a fortune. You can craft extremely valuable items from Inferno parts. Talk to my neighbor, Myer, for the details. Alright, so he has given us a bit of a challenge here to hunt an Inferno. Now, we have actually killed an Inferno before, if you guys remember way back when we were here on a return trip, and we were able to get one of the stones that we needed, or sorry, one of the keys that we needed for those stones for Crocel's quest in Ruhalt Basin. So we do have experience in killing Infernos, but this one is going to be a lot tougher. So let's speak to Myer here and see what he has to say. Infernos are incredibly vicious. It's next to impossible for even a gifted hunter to bag one. They say Infernos have been killed only about twice in the past 100 years. Even the hunter guild I belonged to formed an Inferno killing group, but they failed and went bust. But the weapon and armor you can craft from them is so valuable that there's no end of people who try. With the Avis Transport Fleet's help, I tracked an Inferno and found it in Oldfox Canyon. To kill it, you first have to drag it out of its lair. Running into its lair is foolhardy, you see. Obviously. Infernos are crafty, and it's tough to lure one out, too. But there is a way. You use a blaze, a baby Inferno. Well, it's a baby, but it's still huge. Blazes are ferocious too, but if you were skilled enough to kill Jopa, I think you can handle it. Come to think of it, they say the Northern forces have been training blazes to send into battle. Uh-oh. If you have the tail of a blaze, you can make a tool to lure out the inferno. The more the better, but for now, go collect 4 blaze tails. When you do, I'll make a tool to lure the inferno out of its lair. Alright. These are what the blazes look like, and we have also fought these before, but they're one of the more rare creatures in Oldfox Canyon, so we really haven't seen a lot of these guys. And before I set out, I just want to point out something on the map. As you can see here, there are 2 Avis Transport Fleet locations in Oldfox Canyon. Anytime there's a transport fleet, you'll see a little bird icon next to the pillar. Keep in mind that when you warp to Oldfox Canyon, it will only bring you to the pillar out here by Avis. You can enter Oldfox Canyon by Cota Mare if you wish, but you're not going to be able to go any further than the Northern Forces outpost, simply because the Northern Forces are now after us, not just the Southern Forces, so it'll actually force you to turn around. So just keep that in mind, and kind of just stick to this part of the canyon. And in the canyon, we now actually have Lati, which is kind of weird. They sort of immigrated from Opposite, where they were hiding, and they're now in this area. They're definitely not any tougher, but they do provide really good fodder. Because they are relatively weak, there are always a lot of them, and they don't give a lot of experience and Sid, but they give enough if you are just looking for that extra bit of gold or experience or whatever. We've also got the ground beasts, which we have also seen before. These guys are spread out periodically throughout the canyon, and they provide some of the best experience. And when I was grinding earlier, I didn't just stay in the undersea tunnel. I went to several different places just for a change of scenery and to sort of test the waters. And I didn't really find any place better than another in terms of grinding. I got pretty decent experience everywhere that I went. I went back to Opposite Field, and I went to the Wasteland of Silence, as well as Ruhalt Basin. I would probably have to say that the Wasteland of Silence was the best. The werewolves actually gave me a surprising amount of experience, so that's just something else to keep in mind too if you want to take a break from working on this at any point. Or you just want to change the scenery, you can always move around using the Avis Transport Fleet. In this area though, the monsters are giving us some pretty decent experience, and when we fight the blazes, they're going to give us the most of all, so it'll be rewarding not only for the quest, but it'll be beneficial to our party. For now, I'm going to try and skip past most of the enemies, and I'm going to look for blazes. The first little group is here, which is just southeast of where we started, on the bottom part of the map. Now these guys usually come in groups of 2, and we need 4 tails in total, so you are going to have to do a little bit of searching for them, because there's not like a big nest of them or anything that we can just fight all the ones that we need all at once. But assuming that your drop rate is somewhat decent when you fight these guys, hopefully you won't have to go all around the canyon in order to find them. Now if you don't feel like walking, or you're having no luck finding them, you can always exit the canyon, come back in, and just go back to that spot. But that is also time consuming, and I really don't know what would be better, just because if you do that, you have to watch out for the load screens. There is another group of blazes directly north of where we were, pretty much. A little bit of a windy road, you can't just travel north, but north on the map. And you should have enough blazes in this area that you don't have to utilize that other part of the canyon that you can't really use. Because there are a couple of mobs over there, but there is a certain point where they don't let you advance any further, so you wouldn't want to walk all that way, waste your time, and then have to turn around and come back. And these guys are quite tough, as you can see, so it is kind of a good thing that they're only making us fight 2 at a time.
Gotta do this!
Now, I've chosen a party of Judo, Argo, and Crocell because I mainly used the girls when I was doing all of my grinding earlier on, and this is a really good place for these guys to kind of wipe up house real quickly. And I haven't really had a chance to use Crocell because we've been stuck in Navy Blue Marsh and the Empty Tunnel for so long, and so these are kind of his stomping grounds, just because he's able to generate a lot of con here. Keeping in mind too that if you use Crocell, you're able to use his lighting fire ability, and that will allow you to burn through some of the barricades in the area, and those will act as shortcuts. It does take a couple of seconds for those barriers to completely burn away, but once they've burned away, you can go to and from them freely as you please. Keeping in mind, of course, that if you exit the area, the barriers will return. So we have one more mob to defeat, and I see that there's 2 standing over there, so I didn't even need to burn that barricade. I could actually just go right through. So why don't I just go through here and defeat these guys. And they're just a little bit more north of where we were, so you can see kind of a pattern. If you go south, east, and you go to the bottom of the map, you'll find a mob, and then if you keep traveling north, keeping your eyes peeled, you should be able to find more. And by the time that we're done with this, we should be able to head west and go directly back to the camp, and we'll have made a nice circle. So although we needed to travel a little bit, it is pretty efficient when you think about it, because you're just making a circle, and you do have to go back and return those items anyways in order to finish it up, so. Assuming, of course, that these guys drop what I need. If this one doesn't, then I'm really gonna have to go and search a little bit more in order to find them. Sometimes drops can be tricky. It doesn't look like I'm gonna get one, so that's kind of a shame.
I won't give up now.
I guess I'll just start heading west here, and I'll see what I can find. There should be another mob somewhere. Right in front of me, in fact, although there's only one here that I can see instead of the regular 2. I also have a burn status, which isn't nice.
Eat my fist of flame!
So I guess I should heal before I start. I'll have Crocell do the healing, and because he is a fire user, he's completely immune to those status effects, so I don't necessarily have to worry about it. But these guys are also just really tough. They're very hard hitting.
Don't worry about it.
So I really have to kind of watch my HP in the area. I could bring out a healer, but I also restocked on all of my items after I had stocked up on my weapons, so I don't really mind using them. I've kept a pretty good stockpile throughout the playthrough, and they're always available for purchase if I need more. Okay, so where are we on the map? We're actually almost back to where we needed to go, so I guess what I'll do is I'll just go back to the pillar for now. As far as I know, that's pretty much all of the blazes in the area, and I unfortunately was not able to get that final drop. Unless I wasn't paying attention and we did get the final one and I just missed it. I guess we'll see when we get back to the pillar whether or not there's a check mark on the map. And if I am still missing a tail, what I'll need to do is exit and reload. But I must have missed something because it does appear that I have all 4 tails that I needed. So So killing those extra blazes weren't necessary, but because I killed them all, it does showcase all of the locations which might be useful to some of you. So what I'm going to do is I will save at the pillar, we will speak to Myer next time, we'll turn in those tails, and then we'll figure out what to do next. Thank you all so very much for watching, and I hope that I will see you next time.